Well, happy Friday to you. I apologize, last week was a no Friday talk. I was actually I'd moved my office west of California. I won't tell exactly where, but you could probably figure it out. But we're back, so let's talk today. Our title is Convergence equals Aggregation and Integration. That on the surface doesn't sound super exciting, but this I hope is a very interesting talk and is based on, as many of these talks are, conversations I've had with folks in the industry. So let's begin. Where have we been? So we started out in the 1969 to, actually it's probably desktop didn't come out in 1969, but we've lived in a world of office-based computers for GIS into the 90s and beyond. But the journey started there. When I started with GIS in the 90s, when I did my graduate degree, it was all 𝐅𝐫𝐢𝐼nfo and 𝐼𝐶view. So that was where our journey began with GIS and geospatial data. Following up from that was WebGIS, and again that was the focus of my master's degree. Was I actually wrote a WebGIS application using ArcObjects IMS. We got ArcIMS, we got Map Server, we got all these new technologies that enabled us to bring GIS and build mapping applications, visualizations and analytical engines on the web. I would add that Google Maps in 2005 was a massive step forward for web, geospatial web. I don't think Google would call that GIS, but it was geospatial and maps on the web. In 2009, mobile GIS came out. I actually set up a company called Web Map Solutions, which was purely a mobile GIS company. Why? Because I thought at that time having a mobile computer with GPS was going to be a big step forward for our industry. It proved to be. It was slower adoption in GIS, but overall the use of geospatial data, maps in consumer apps, etc., was a big deal. So really 3 phases. A lot of that work was done with two-dimensional data. So again, I've gone on about this before, but that was primarily the focus of desktop web and mobile GIS. We've now entered the stage of geospatial 2.0. So the future today. We're at the beginning of a long and exciting journey for geospatial. So why would you say we're at the beginning? Because we're in an inflection point, a time of change. What we're essentially doing is recreating the world digitally, and we'll talk about that more in a moment, but we're moving beyond just flat maps to a much richer set of data. Geospatial is the glue, the core of that world that we're building, that digital world that we're building. So let's start with definitions. You saw the title. Convergence is really the coming together. That's what convergence actually means. Aggregation is, it has similarities to convergence, but it's really organizing things in a usable way, bringing them all together, organizing them, making them usable. And then the third term there is integration, and that's really connecting these pieces. Let's talk about those things in this conversation. So I see geospatial as our foundation, our data foundation of this exciting digital world we're entering. Yes, we've got 2D vector data. Yes, we're beginning to bring in 3D models. We're bringing in these 3D worlds. Some see that as digital twin, but actually in combination with 4-dimensional data, real-time data is probably more of an accurate version of modeling the real world in a digital system. So we've really got that foundational data. Now, what's really critical here is these are, let's just include the next bullet point, people and things. They're based on people and things. A lot of what we're talking about here is whether it's 2-dimensional data, whether it's 3-dimensional data, or whether it's 4-dimensional data. So that could be a park that's represented by a point on a 2D map. That could be a building that is represented as a 3D model. That could be something in the IoT world, a sensor that's moving. Maybe it's someone's phone. Maybe it's on a static device, but it's reporting in real time its state or where it is. So these are really, I mean, in the sort of utility world or in a lot of sort of the public sector world, these are called assets, but we can kind of broaden that to really people and things, which are all connected by location. So that's our sort of the core of the data we have, and those objects, those things we're representing, have attributes. And again, a classic GIS is a point with attributes that are connected to it. So it might be a pole. We might include the material of the pole. We might include the height of the pole. Those kind of things are basic attributes. So those are kind of the core pieces of what's behind these geospatial data sets. Let's talk about that word integration, because it's a really critical component of actually the work, more and more of the work that I do at 𝐷𝐿𝐷𝐿. But I think it's a very important part of this 2.0 conversation. We've always struggled in the GIS world to bring the value of GIS data and systems to the business folks. They really don't care about the stuff that we talk about. But they do use systems which are business systems, and there's 3 examples there: SAP, Salesforce, IBM Maximo. There's many other examples. What we're beginning to do now is to integrate that foundational geospatial data, whether it's 4-dimensional data, 3-dimensional data, or 2-dimensional data, with these business systems. It's called geo-enablement is a common term for it. SAP use that, I've read that in other places, but it's really integrating that foundational geospatial data within business systems. Once you've combined those data, once you've integrated those systems, there are a lot of things you can do with that core data. A lot of things, and it's beyond just asset management. There are a whole slew of workflows which allow business folks to get their work done more easily and get greater insight. But integration isn't just about business systems. It's also about other rich data. And I've just included a few examples there. I mean, document management systems is an example. We can link our GIS data or our 3-dimensional data to documents which describe the building, the person, the thing, etc. So we can link into document management systems. We can also integrate into multimedia systems. We can bring video in from YouTube, for example. What's become ever more important is integration with social media as well. So again, 2 examples there. Instagram, imagery can come from there. Twitter, we can get short messages. We can pull from those data sets to get actual insight on what might be happening. People are tweeting about a water main burst in a particular road. Well, that alerts a water authority that there's a problem quickly. So this sort of rich data integration is also a critical part of that. But again, these are all linked together. The basic components of the GIS, the geospatial data, are linked into these other systems and complement one another and provide a richer data experience and analytical experience as well. And we won't talk about artificial intelligence and machine learning, but this all kind of feeds into those systems. So I believe that we're going through geospatial, we're really going through a period of convergence, coming together. That really requires us to aggregate. So to actually effectively converge, we need to aggregate data. And I've included in this diagram the aggregation of these multi-dimensional, these geospatial data sets, 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional, and 4 dimensions, and then linking those into these other systems. So whether it be a business systems, whether it be document management systems, or other types of other platforms which enrich the data that we have. So integration is a critical component of that. So convergence is happening, but we need to be aggregating data, and we need to then integrate that data with non-geospatial data. So geospatial reimagined. In many ways, geospatial 2.0 is about convergence. Geospatial data aggregation, my belief forms the foundation of this digital world that we're building. And business systems and these rich data integrations are really going to move us from a niche technology, which is where really GIS has been, where sort of design in 3D have been, and where IoT still kind of sits to some degree, into this mainstream uses where we bring everything together in one place and we allow people to not only visualize that data, but ask questions of that data and get insight. So there's your Friday talk. As ever, let me know what you think. There's my email address if you've got questions, comments, thoughts, etc. And we'll do it all again next week. Have a lovely weekend.